Hi there, everybody. We're delving into an odd tale today that not everyone is aware of. Even the individuals involved were afraid to divulge the sinister truth. Even though you may believe you've seen it all on reality TV, you'd be surprised to learn what goes on behind the scenes. Imagine that a golf club that had been specially built for Bob Hope was put up for sale one evening in 1975 at the Dunes Hotel in Las Vegas, and that was only the start of a tale that nobody could have foreseen. Bloody battles and unimaginable secret conspiracies are what we're discussing. Then there is Rick Harrison, who rose to fame on Pawn Stars thanks to his witty banter and financial savvy, who is currently near death in a jail hospital. His own cell in a high-security solitary confinement block, ostensibly the most strictly regulated section of the prison, was where the stabbing took place. No security cameras, no witnesses, and no weapons were found. This was not your average jail attack. Rather, it was a meticulously planned incident in which every detail was meticulously concealed, and only a few people are aware of the true tale. Please leave a remark with the number 1 if you think this article is interesting. This article is interesting. If not, write 0 in your comment. Remember to use the like button. Tell your friends about this video and share your ideas by leaving a comment below. To ensure you don't miss our upcoming fascinating videos, click the subscribe button and enable notifications if you haven't already. Now let's get into the story. A few days later, Corey made a shocking revelation to the country. To quiet my dad, someone wanted him dead. And why? Because Corey claimed that Rick Harrison had secrets that may destroy an underground network where the most powerful people conceal their identities behind celebrity and goodwill. Before it happened, Rick's lifelong friend Chumley had issued a terrifying warning. They will immediately kill him if he speaks. And that caution proved to be music absolutely accurate. There is a major question facing the public. Is Rick Harrison really this network's only surviving link? If so, who is controlling the prison system to prevent him from speaking again? Is this a premeditated murderous scheme, or is it merely the prelude to a more sinister reality that will soon come to light? Come along with us as we explore today's music for the answers. Video. The present circumstances. The unsettling quiet when Rick Harrison was discovered at Black Ridge High Correctional Facility, lying in a pool of his own blood on the chilly concrete floor of cell F12. He was gravely wounded, but still alive after suffering 3 deep knife wounds. One through the chest, one grazing the kidney, and one beneath the shoulder blade. The biggest mystery to investigators, according to jail medical music staff, was the total lack of even the most basic security measures. At the time of the attack, there were no operational security cameras in the vicinity, no witnesses came forward, no cries for assistance. Sus. Weapons were not found. The most concerning fact is that none of the prisoners in the solitary confinement block made any reports. The man who had talked nonstop in front of the TV cameras, Rick Harrison, was now quiet. He appeared to be crying, not because he was unable to talk. The special care unit staff did not call him a living ghost. Unwilling or unable to speak or write, hands holding the bed, eyes wide open but unblinking. He just shook his head when asked. Such deep quiet, according to a forensic psychologist who works with high-risk inmates, suggests a systemic danger in which the victim is aware that speaking could result in a fatal music error. At first, the incident was classified as an internal matter by the jail administration. Although the incident was being investigated, a troubling pattern was visible beneath the bureaucratic facade. Due to personal reasons, the 2 guards assigned to watch over Block F were abruptly replaced on the day of the attack by staff members without permanent jobs. Due to ongoing software bugs, all of the hallway cameras inexplicably stopped working, and cell phone 112's motion detectors did not register any movement. Veteran prison inspectors say a string of such coincidental errors points to a coordinated scheme. Why didn't Rick defend himself? Why didn't he yell for assistance or set off the emergency alarm? According to staff sources, he has a fresh scrape on his thumb that appears to be a desperate attempt to touch the call button. But there has been no answer. They committed the crime with the accuracy of a professional agent. If the offender was another prisoner, investigations revealed that Rick's life had been entrusted to people who were eager to silence him forever. If it was an insider, Rick Harrison's identity is unknown, but everyone knows why he had dangerous knowledge that someone was prepared to jeopardize the entire federal prison security system in order to silence him. And even if he is still alive today, his silence still poses a risk. A truth that is imprisoned behind prison walls in a weak body, where anyone, even those wearing official uniforms, could be the enemy. No longer is Rick Harrison only a defendant for punishment. With the legal system failing to protect him, and jail officials unable to provide an explanation for the technical malfunctions, he is now more vulnerable than ever as a living witness. Only one individual had the courage to speak up that fateful night. Corey Harrison, his son. However, Corey had to confront a life-or-death dilemma before he could divulge all. Would his father's atrocities from the past or the undiscovered truths cause him to be slowly murdered? At 6:47 Music AM, Corey Harrison, the truth survivor, received the call. Truth survivor. The coffee cup remained unopened as Corey Harrison sat by himself in his suburban kitchen. Without providing any information or an explanation, the voice on the other end of the telephone merely stated, one sentence, "Your dad has been stabbed in prison. He is in critical condition. It was a straightforward attack on the heart. His father's life sentence has left the son still in shock. It was then that Corey understood Chumley's warning was more than a delusional fantasy. Chumley, a longtime Pawn Stars buddy of both Rick and Corey, had dragged Corey away in the store one late night in the dark months before to Rick's sentencing. There was urgency in his voice. They'll kill him if he speaks. The drama in the family was over. Was over. Thinking his friend had bought into some conspiracy music notion, Corey tried to chuckle. He knew differently now that his father's blood was on the ground. Prior to the trial, Rick had suggested meeting with government lawyers, Corey said. Rick didn't elaborate, but his manner was more like that of a gambler than someone pleading for pity. According to Corey, he told me that everything might end soon and that it would be best for everyone. Such presumptions seemed insignificant now, but I assumed he meant negotiating a reduced punishment. Whatever Rick was about to reveal, or only threatening to reveal, Corey knew had almost cost him his life in America's safest jail. Being in the spotlight was nothing new to Corey. As the youthful heir of the most well-known porn company in Las Vegas, he had been heralded, renowned for his memorable, clever comments and astute negotiation abilities. However, his self-assured demeanor disappeared when he sat in front of the camera, following the stabbing. His eyes were broken, his voice bolstered by determination. I used to have complete faith in my father, he said. He taught me right from wrong, I believed. But I knew he was protecting someone else, not me, when he looked at me in court and said, "It's okay, son." Music, he started making connections between the things he had witnessed but dared not question. Curtain. Rick had made late-night phone calls to dubious partners that no one in the company could identify, shut the office door for hours, and gave Corey a bulky package that bore the signed shipping artwork contract. It was signed by Corey. Haida. He was feared to have unintentionally legalized corrupt money, which would have fueled the entire clandestine business. Then Chumley came back. No false alibi or media leaks, but just one item. An aluminum foil-wrapped little USB drive. Chumley muttered, "Keep this. Fu, if he doesn't show up, or you suspect someone is following you, open it." When Corey learned of the stabbing, he didn't think twice about it, even though he had previously written it off as paranoid. The device had an encrypted file with bank accounts, pictures, travel records, emails, and, most damning of all, a list of influential people who were either directly or indirectly connected to Rick Harrison. A few names stood up right away: Steve Harvey, Tom Hanks, Oprah Winfrey, and Jay-Z. Others, however, were media directors of Nos International, charity executives, and even 2 former U.S. Department of Justice officials. Corey came to see that his father's conviction went beyond his personal transgressions. Rick was a vital component of a network that included the entertainment, media, and international aid industries. And it was precisely that system that raised concerns about the cost when Rick paused, implying that he would collaborate. Corey wasn't certain he could shield his family from what was going to happen, and he wasn't sure how long Rick would live. However, there was one indisputable fact. His father's long-kept secrets had turned perilous. And now that they were out, the biggest threat was silence because they had turned deadly. Then everything changed. Corey subsequently stated in an interview, "I'm not a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm the son of a man who was a hero, then became a criminal. But if I don't speak out, no one music will." With Rick Harrison at its core, a story about a fallen TV star had evolved into a significant indictment. However, the words he had never had the opportunity to speak now determined his existence. Chumley had given Corey Harrison the USB disc, which was the lethal silent evidence. It looked pointless at first, like a little item in a drawer wrapped in crumpled foil without a ribbon. However, Corey's survival instincts took over, and he chose to open it after Rick was stabbed while incarcerated. What he observed as his laptop's screen flickered was more than just mistrust, not the type of evidence you'd find in a courtroom, but evidence so harmful that anyone found in possession of it could vanish into thin air. Music Drift Protocol 13 was the sinister title of the drive's top folder. It contained partner database lists, encrypted Wi-Fi logs, confirmed facial recognition, cold backup audio recordings, and well-organized subfolders. On the wall were a framed picture of his father grinning self-assuredly in a clip from a porn star TV program used to hang. Corey sat in the gentle, dark light. Now the picture choked him. Numerous coded conversations between Rick and anonymous addresses were contained in the encrypted emails. The writing style, technical words, and distinctive symbols, notwithstanding the censored names, exposed a complex media network in which third-level security codes and shipment landing locations had nothing to do with cash or antiquities. BU. Confirm appearance of is one child lot 3 using a cover to check movement before third cycle, one message said. Music the FBI recognized is the most horrifying continents were in the DB faces, dozens of pictures taken in dimly lit rooms. Each picture showed a young face, usually a teen with dead eyes. Corey couldn't bear to look any farther, so he closed the laptop, took out the drive, and locked it away safely. But 1,000 questions raced through his head. Did his father keep a copy? Had Rick shared this data? This was precisely why he became a target, not just for what he had done, but for what he knew. Beneath each portrait was an identification code CB13THM4JC Cycle 5. Some notes on compliance levels. Emotional training completed. Destination compound RH. When Corey anonymously gave a copy of the drive to a group of investigative journalists, the decoded wireless log showed at least 17 transfers from an account labeled SCF matching Sean Carter Foundation to entities in Beast and Saint. He understood that the stabbing in prison might not be a threat. But the end, because if Rick spoke, fame, fortune, and power could all disappear. Processed through brush shell, confirmed by a circle without full decoding. Stated another letter, along with a transfer of $870,000 designated as logistical development for youth. The truth that the reporters discovered extended beyond Rick Harrison. Celebrities from entertainment, political organizations, nonprofits, and international shipping companies were all part of the chain. Rick was only a middleman. He was too near to the junction of crime and money, too knowledgeable, and too possessive. Even worse, he had lost control of this music data. Corey had taken action, and he, the sole son, would be the next to be told. Later on, Corey said that he was unsure of what to do with the USB. Turn it over to the FBI. He thought no one would risk exposing himself and his family by leaking it to the media. His life was on the line with every choice. However, he was aware of this. Because my father was able to speak, they did not want him to survive. However, if I say nothing, he will take everything with him, and those folks will move on as if nothing had occurred. Music, the silence of those who could hold Corey responsible, was more frightening than the data itself. When he sent a test email to one of the addresses on the disk, he received no reaction, no threats, and no public offers. The most obvious message was their silence. We're watching, and we know what you have. Corey had since hired lawyers, increased his family's security, and relocated his son to live with his mother for safety. But he knew that I would be the next to be attacked if his father was attacked before he could say anything. Since USB is a ticking time bomb, I can now speak for him. Music, once the quintessential American icon and reliable television personality, Rick Harrison is now struggling to survive in a jail infirmary, uncertain if he will ever awaken. And standing at the intersection of truth and criminality, Corey was forced to play the part of an unwilling witness who had to guard money that had the potential to topple a decades-old system of control. Rick Harrison was aware of the reason behind their behavior. We must confront a straightforward but agonizing reality in order to comprehend why Rick's life became the subject of silence. He was too knowledgeable. Rick was more than just a participant. Over the course of more than 10 years, he gathered hundreds of leads and thousands of information, serving as the linchpin of a global money laundering and people trafficking network. Although he wasn't the mastermind, he was a witness because he had direct knowledge of what was happening. He had intelligence that could destroy the liberties, careers, and reputations of the most influential people at the pinnacle of power, in addition to courtroom evidence. Waita Runadence. A list of partners Rick had coded in his own notes was one of the records Corey made public. Some of these abbreviations have now been decoded by independent investigators. Shaw Carter matches JZF makes connections to Oprah's foundation by mentioning money transfers from Cyprus to Greece that coincide with Tom Hanks's enigmatic honorary Greek citizenship, and Sheen media payment production through Steve Harvey's Mayfield Holdings. A famous person locked an accessible target for retaliation was someone who is involved in human trafficking. However, that there were no indications that the attack in the morning was spontaneous. The crime persisted. No witnesses, no cameras, no traces. A single query reverberating across the corridor. Who gave the order to silence Rick Harrison? How many more have to be in danger? They could switch guards on the train, turn off prison cameras for 3 days, and obliterate the truth with a car accident, an unexplained stroke, or an unmarked early retirement. It is obvious that these assets were chosen, cultivated, and trafficked like commodities. What his father left behind was not mentioned in any will, but carried the weight of a major indictment against an underground network that had existed for decades.